You're listening to Alternative Future Radio, home of the weird, resting place of the paranormal. We'll take you to the furthest reaches of the galaxy and beyond. Strange phenomena, aliens, psychics, cryptozoology, conspiracy, holistic health, and UFOs. Alternative Future Radio, where spooky just got weird.
Greetings and salutations to one and all. Welcome to the Out There Hour.
The Out There Hour on Alternative Future Radio. The Out There Hour with Basil and Mark. www.alternativefutureradio.com.
Yay!
People love the yays, don't they?
We go for yay. And to think, right, a couple of months ago, you wanted to drop the yay.
I did. And it's become the most popular part of the show.
Yeah, everybody tunes out about now. See you, everybody.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
And welcome to the Middle East.
Africa.
Mexico City.
Europe.
Trinidad and Tobago. Oh, we did them last week.
America.
God, where's my original bone?
At least one listener in Australia.
Yeah, there's one. Persistent listener in Australia.
And if any of you have been abducted.
Yeah.
Or contacted.
I've been contacted.
Or by an extraterrestrial.
Oh.
Today is the show for you.
Yes, Mr. Jester Black Onyx. It's a pseudonym.
Because he doesn't want to use his real name.
Yeah, he's got enough sense to not do it, because it brings upon him nothing but problems, I'd say.
He just can't, and he hasn't spoken to too many people about this.
Yeah.
He's told, I think maybe perhaps his father at most, and maybe a friend.
Yeah.
He wants to stay in employment regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. I mean, Colleen Thomas had lots of trouble finding work because Google her name and she's everywhere.
Ben the Porter.
Yeah. No longer required.
And the list goes on.
Yeah, quite a few people.
So he's very bravely agreed to come on today to talk about his very bizarre, somewhat unpleasant, I must say.
Yeah. It sounds pretty rough, to be honest.
Yeah, not very nice.
Not something that you'd want.
Right in the heart of London.
Yeah.
Just in Wormwood, just outside of Wormwood Scrubs, the prison.
Yep.
Out on the park.
Wormwood Scrubs is like a you could call it a park, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's a park.
Yeah.
Beside this big open green area.
Yeah.
Just outside the prison for the prisoners to look at.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I guess there's not much more to say.
No,
only really get on with it.
Bring him on and see what he's got to say for himself.
We can't give any more history. We can't tell you what he does or things like that, because it would just give the game away.
It would.
So we'll just talk about what happened to him.
Yes, let's do it. And let's bring forth the advert.
Are you ready for an adventure? Prepare yourself for more alternative future radio than any human being should have access to. How do you get this? It's simple. With the new Alternative Future Radio Android application, you can download all the latest shows and the archived shows as well. Help support Alternative Future Radio for just $1.99. PayPal will bill you in your very own currency if you don't use dollars. Find out more at alternativefutureradio.com.
Okay, so we are now going live over to London to talk to a chap we'll refer to as Jester Black Onyx. Interesting name. Hello, Jester.
Hi. Nice to finally talk to you.
Nice to get hold of you finally. We've been off and on about getting this interview going for the last couple of months, but we're finally there. Basil's in the studio. Say hello, Basil.
Hello, Jester. You're very good to come on. We appreciate it a great deal.
I'm happy to be on.
Yeah, because we know that a lot of people they don't want the attention. They'd rather not be doing this kind of thing if at all possible. So we appreciate that it takes a certain amount of courage.
I was like that in the beginning. Yeah. A number of months ago, I was scared to talk about what I've experienced.
Well, we've just had a conversation between myself and Mark, and I said, frankly, if I had ever seen a UFO, an alien, anything at all, I wouldn't mention it. I wouldn't bother. I just couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to defend myself.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that, and most people don't talk about this. However, it's becoming more common now. I mean, people are talking about their experiences more openly now, especially on YouTube. and everything. So I think people are feeling more able to talk about it.
And to us, apparently, we're becoming one of the.
We seem to be the go-to show for contactees. We've done quite a few, haven't we?
We've done a lot. Ashwin Farinacci and Simon Parks,
Colleen,
Colleen Thomas.
We've got a few.
And a few contact me privately who simply don't want to
we've
talk
had a
about
few,
it.
We had Miles Johnson on last week, who runs the Amash group, which you might be aware of, AMMACH for contactees.
It's a support group for contactees or abductees.
I've joined a couple of support groups. However, I need to get more in there, get on the message boards and write up some more of my experiences.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jester, we don't know a lot about you.
Yeah, where do we start? Do you want to just talk?
Well, I was a martial artist, and I was teaching martial arts. I had a club, and basically, I had an experience. And this was a few years ago. I'm 26 now, and I was 22 at the time.
Yeah.
And basically, I was walking in Wormwood Scrubs, which is like a park next to a prison. And I was standing, it was quite dark, and it was around 11 p.m. And I was just looking at the back of the prison, just wondering, what would it be like to, to be in there, sort of thing. And then I basically got punched in the back of the head. And there was no one there. So I thought, is it an interdimensional being? I didn't have the name interdimensional being in my memory bank because I hadn't looked up this sort of thing. But I didn't think it was a ghost. I thought it must just be something that can travel between dimensions. So that was the first thing that happened. Then I had a weird surgery performed on my wrist and my hand.
Was that at the same time, or was that a different occasion?
No, same night. No, I had a bunch of stuff happen as I was on the grass. And then I saw a UFO with a triangle-shaped UFO above in the sky, sort of hovering. And I stayed there looking at it for half an hour, and I had this weird thing in my hand, like it felt like it was made of electronics and metal, and it was in my wrist, and I had scars for years, and they can still be seen a little bit, but they were really obvious, the scars, but they've healed because I heal quite well from things like that.
How long ago was this then?
Well, I'm 26 now, so it's 4 years ago.
22.
Right.
So just chronologically, you were going through the Wormwood Scrubs Park, I know it quite well. Something hit you in the back of the head.
Yeah. And I did actually see it. Not when it hit me, but about 5 minutes after it hit me, it sort of shouted at me from a direction, and I just felt, from its energy, the aggression, that it must be the same thing which hit me.
Yeah.
And it was like a very ugly sort of being. The face, the facial characteristics were humanoid, but they were distorted. They were in like a slightly different shape, like the nose, the eyes, not very tall either. And was trying to communicate with me, but was being very aggressive with me, and was angry towards me for some reason.
Oh, that's unusual.
Did you run away?
I wanted to, but I was actually there was an occasion where two more of them stared at me, and I couldn't move. I froze. I had so much fear that I couldn't move. I did leave after about 3 hours, but I froze when two of them started staring at me. They were taller as well than the one that I think punched me.
But how did they keep you there for 3 hours?
I was just terrified.
Rooted to the spot.
I was talking to them as well, and they seemed to understand what I was saying. And I was being a bit threatening towards them because I was a martial artist, and I was considering fighting, but I didn't because I was just too scared. Because if it's paranormal, it's scary and it can make you freeze up.
You don't know whether it's paranormal, demonic, ghostly, or alien? I mean, how do you decide?
Yeah, something just not right.
Or, yeah.
I think interdimensional.
Yeah.
Because of the punch coming, through the air, sort of thing, and without the being there as I got hit, and then because of the UFO above me, which was very vivid, it was like a triangle shape with lights in a triangle formation, very large and hovering, and it didn't have a helicopter sound, it didn't have the rotor blade sound, and it was hovering in a way an airplane can't do.
But you were still on the ground while you were seeing this. You were still in the location that you were walking.
I was still in the same location.
It's
a very scary place in the night, actually.
It
is. I didn't realize because I was wandering.
It is.
Yeah, it's a scary place, with weird energy and stuff.
Well, people don't understand this about London. There are parts of it that you will never see anybody in built-up areas, parks and things like that. Wormwood Scrubs would be a number one, not a nice area.
Yeah, Wimbledon Common, there's a few places like that.
You're correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, so you've got three beings.
Yeah.
Holding you, not holding
me hostage, sort of thing.
Yeah,
the two of them had some sort of weaponized energy in their stare, because they were staring at me, and they had some sort of power over me. I think, and they didn't look like they didn't understand what I was experiencing. They looked as if they knew how I felt. Yeah. So they were staring at me, making me so terrified I couldn't move. I also thought I might die from shock, because my chest, I had a sensation in my chest as if I might just die from the fear.
Yeah, probably I do that more immediately than Jester would. But were they now? It's hard to describe their faces insofar as they were, I guess, morphing, or things weren't quite where they should have been. Is that accurate?
The one which I think hit me, which seemed to have interdimensional ability. To move. Yeah, see, this one was alien looking, you know what I mean? It's like the nose was a weird shape, the eyes were deeper, rounder, bigger, and the head shape was slightly morphed. If that makes sense. It wasn't like a symmetrical, rounded off human typical head. It was like slightly warped and not very tall.
Kind of like when you're looking in one of those carnival mirrors or something.
Exactly. Yeah, not as pronounced as a carnival mirror, but if there was a milder effect which could be achieved by a carnival mirror, this would be what I saw.
How are they? Sorry, go. How were they dressed, Jester?
The one with the warped head shape was not very dressed. He wasn't naked, but I could see his chest and his arms. So he had a type of t-shirt on. However, it wasn't like a normal t-shirt. It was like had collars, and the chest was showing and the arms were showing.
Oh yeah, some kind of weird,
like a tunic or something almost. Or...
Yeah, like something with collars and no sleeves, and the chest showing. Very strange. It wasn't normal clothing. The other two had medical. They were wearing completely medical clothes, like the same stuff that you see, not nurses and doctors wearing in a hospital.
Like an overall or something like that.
They had overalls on, yeah, and they were. I think they weren't white. They were like blue.
Like surgical scrubs, that kind of thing.
Surgical scrubs, very light blue surgical scrubs.
Wow.
Which made them even more scary, actually.
Oh yeah, some unpleasant.
So we've talked about the physical things that happened that you saw. This UFO that you saw above you, I'm imagining at least you've not found anybody else who saw that, because that would be an interesting thing to find out if somebody else had seen it, maybe.
I looked on the internet and I found that there had been some sightings of triangle-shaped UFOs around that time. However, I found sightings around every year. There's been sightings of a triangle-shaped UFO, because it's the most commonly. There's a UFO database on the internet, and the most commonly reported UFO is a triangle-shaped UFO. So all I did was see something that lost people have seen.
Yes.
So that made me feel better, actually. Yeah, I reported my one. I logged it on the website, which I found. Wormwood Scrubs, triangle-shaped UFO. I didn't see one reported Wormwood Scrubs, but in London there were reports of triangle-shaped UFOs on the database.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And so,
we've got a period of 3 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 hours in normal time, or 3 hours? Did it seem like 3 hours? Or
no, it was 3 hours.
It felt like 3 hours.
It felt like longer. Felt much longer than 3 hours.
They had you there for a substantial amount of time.
Yeah, it felt time was slowing down and weird effects, weird time distortion was going on when it happened.
So they're not exactly speaking to you, but they're communicating with you telepathically or through imagery.
No, he shouted. The one that punched me, when he kind of made a grunting sound, it was like, like that. This was the way he kept going, and it was very similar to the way I've just done it there. I've done a good impression of what he was doing.
Okay.
I mean, what was going on for 3 hours? Surely there must be a lot.
I was talking to them.
Oh, right. Okay. And what kind of things? How did that start?
I was asking them if they were connected with another thing which happened to me about 3 months before. I was staying in a hotel, and the window, something was tapping on the window, and there was nothing there. And then there were some marks appearing on the window. They were brown in color, very, very obvious, and it looked like mud, but there wasn't anyone throwing mud or anything outside. And then I looked in the mirror, and the mirror showed something in the room with me. A bit like it's like an Exorcist kind of situation.
Oh God.
There's a film with Kiefer Sutherland called Mirrors.
Yeah,
I've seen it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had something like that happen, and it was the being that was in the mirror looked like the same one which punched me, but it wasn't the same exact one. But it had the warped head,
same kind of thing,
shape.
Could have been the same species then.
It made the same sound. It's like a sound.
That is weird, isn't it?
From all we've heard a lot from UFO experiences.
There's a bit more detail. Someone jumped out of a window in the room next to me for no reason.
Oh God.
Oh.
And they ended up in hospital.
Well, maybe not for no reason. If the same thing.
Maybe there was a reason. Maybe they had something going on in there as well.
Wow.
And
was that at the same time?
Yeah, the same time that when I was in my room, looking in the window, and I saw that weird thing, and there was marks appearing on the window. Someone jumped out of the room next to me, and the person's name I know was Michael.
And were you actually in a place where you lived at the time, or were you in a hotel or something?
No, I was in a hotel.
And so this person wasn't connected to you in any way. You didn't know them, or
I didn't know them.
Yeah, that is weird, isn't it?
I was told Michael in the room next door jumped a man called Michael, who I'd seen just when I was going in and out of my room.
Yeah.
Like he was going in and out. Sometimes there was the breakfast area, and I was told Michael in the room next door to you jumped out of the window, and I said when, and it was like last night, which was the night when I was having the weird experience. I didn't jump out of my window.
How high up was it?
Pretty high up.
And he survived.
Yeah, he survived.
It's a shame you couldn't find this person and ask him what.
I walked past him once in the street, and I asked him why he jumped out the window, and he said something came over him.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
So is that? Would you say that's your beginning there? In the hotel, of ever seeing anything? I mean, basically, as a person, have you been into UFOs and space and ETs?
When I was a kid, I was too scared to watch X-Files. It used to come on the television, and I was too scared to watch it. And then I had an interest in UFO. I was interested in UFOs when I was about 15.
Yeah.
But I lost interest. You know, I had no interest in them when I had my experiences.
I mean, we've all been a bit interested as children and young adults, but it's a passing interest. So you wouldn't say you're a fanatic about this kind of thing in your life or anything.
Not before what happened. After what happened to me, I still didn't really become a fanatic. I actually tried to block it out from my memory.
Yes,
I tried to move on from it. However, I've been meeting with different people, and different people have had different experiences, and I'm starting to be more open with people and tell people my experiences, because I've seen other people on YouTube who seem happy to talk about what they've been through, and I've been through some of the same things. Which, you know, I saw someone on YouTube who had a weird technology put in his body, and the way he described it was exactly the way it happened to me. It's like a very wafer thin technology which merges with your body, and you can feel it. You can feel it in the parts to which it's been put. You know, and you can feel the surgical procedure, because it's like tiny tools which might be of a higher frequency. They might be higher frequency surgical tools which you feel operating on your body. And then when you move that part of the body, you can feel there's like cybernetics in there. It's very strange.
And just to put your mind at rest, Jester, I was away on holiday for a weekend, and I spoke to a very old good friend who admitted that they had seen a UFO themselves, never before, never since, and it's many years ago. So you're not alone at all in this.
Oh yeah.
And but I'm just wondering now, the surgery. When did that happen? At what point?
On the grass. It happened on the grass, and it went on for about an hour.
Oh, so. A few things have happened while you were there for the 3 hours.
Oh yeah, no, it was active the whole time.
Oh God,
there were weird things happening the whole time.
What was the surgery like? Did they pin you down, or were you just pinned down?
My arm was made to stick out straight. And then there was like something that felt like a very wafer-thin circular saw, and I thought it was cutting off my hand.
Yeah.
However, it wasn't. It was it was splicing some sort of wafer-thin technology into my wrist and my finger, my little finger and my wrist. And then every time I moved my little finger or my wrist, I could feel it in the wrist.
A foreign body, so to speak.
Yeah, foreign body. Yeah.
Have you had it X-rayed or anything like that?
I didn't have it X-rayed. I could have done, because I could have just gone into the hospital and said I had an injury. I could have lied. I didn't. I was scared, so I just ignored it. It didn't go away for about 2 years.
And do you think something's still in there to this day, or was it removed? Or
I don't like to think that there is. I don't. I mean, to be honest, if I think to myself, is there, isn't there, it's a question mark. I'm not actually sure.
It might still be worthwhile having an X-ray or some sort of scan of some sort.
Well, no, my blood tests come back strange.
Oh.
And there isn't any I don't have any illness, but they're unexplainable blood tests. They're just my blood tests come back saying that I might have an enlarged spleen, but when they scanned my spleen, it was normal size. So I've got a number of discrepancies in the blood results, but they're not illnesses. You know, it doesn't indicate that I have an illness. It just indicates that my bloods are weird.
False readings and such like.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to take us through everything that happened in those 3 hours, was there anything apart from the surgery and the conversation? Did anything else happen?
Yeah, I was having it was mostly the conversation, the surgery, getting made to freeze just from how scary they were, and looking up and staring in disbelief at the UFO, the triangle-shaped UFO. Yes. I thought maybe that the government would get involved. I thought maybe that there would be an arrival of police or even the army, but nothing happened.
No
one arrived.
Yeah, exactly.
When you were talking to them, I mean, you were there for such a long time. You must have been talking about something.
I was asking them which planet they're from. I was asking them if there's life after death.
Oh.
I was asking them if I had a spirit, or if I was just like a biological robot. I was getting answers back. However, they were downloading these weird answers into my head, like a stream of information which was going inside my head, and it was a bit too much for me. Because they weren't like very verbal. They were like, when we're talking as humans, it's actually very slow. Like the amount of information that we're able to convey and process with the spoken language is actually pretty slow. The one that they have is like a download of information, and it's like it goes in your head like a computer, more than like an ear listening to words and then the brain processing the words. And I had all weird star systems in my visualization, and weird planets, weird different alien species, weird test tube situation where they were trying to mate different species to create a super race. But the super race was out in space. It's like completely different galaxy to our one. And I was seeing all of this stuff in my head. Like I was seeing all of these different species and different test tube situations. I even knew some of the names of the different species. There was this one called the Asgruas. Yeah. And it was like very the skin had like lots of folds in it. And they were a sort of brownish yellow color, small, and super intelligent. They look a little bit like the grey, but it's like a brownish yellow, bit bigger than the typical grey that we've seen drawings of on YouTube, with lots of folds in the skin. So the skin had wrinkles and folds, and sort of like a tree has circles. If you cut a tree in half, you can see those circles. They have like circles around their arms and their body and their head. Little grooves like in circles. And there's one of the most powerful, most intelligent species of alien, the Asgruas. It's difficult for me to pronounce the names of.
Yeah, how odd. I mean, when you were asking them questions like, who are you and what you're doing here, and why me and all that kind of stuff, what were their answers?
Well, imagery, I guess.
Yeah.
Apparently, something that I'd done when I was younger had caught their attention. Basically, I had this thing called binaural beats. Which is like when there's one frequency in one ear and a different frequency in the other ear, and you can get them off the internet, which is exactly what I did. I got this thing off the internet, and you can control the sound of the binaural beat when it's in your brain, because it's the sound that's being produced by your brain. And I kept making a different sound with the binaural beat in my brain. I was actually able to make some kind of, it sounded like a synthesized voice, and apparently this was like picked up on it with because it was sort of screaming out of my brain when I was younger. And apparently they say they picked up on it and they heard it. So I suppose people might want to be careful of binaural beats then. Because they make a sound that gets produced by your brain, and it is possible to generate what sounds like a synthesized voice when you're hearing the beat. I didn't meet a lot of people who can do this, but there are people who can. People who listen to binaural beats can generate, inside their own mind a sound. So apparently that's what caused them to come and get me.
When you were posing this question, if you like, who am I, where do I come from, that kind of thing, were they saying something to you about being far away in space with test tubes? Do you think what they meant was the human race was created genetically somehow by them? Is that what the image?
They were creating this imagery, which downloaded into my head, was of something which is happening now or at the time, and it's a new race that they were creating, and it was a few different species in coalition. So working together to create something even more powerful than us, maybe they did have something to do with the creation of our species. However, the one that was downloaded into my head was a super species. It was on a different level.
Okay, and what else did they give you?
What, in terms of information?
Yeah.
They put me through weird tests. So I had to explain how immortality could work. So how could the question was, how could there be an immortal? What sort of technology would it involve? What sort of problems, existential problems, would arise if there was an immortal? And I just had to keep answering weird questions like that. And if I got the questions right, they would make a sound as if there's a party. So I would hear fireworks.
Wow.
And get an imagery of celebration would pop up in my head if I got one of the questions right. So I was put through a series of tests where I got asked very difficult to answer questions, and I had to use my imagination to answer the questions. And if I got it right, I got a celebration sound. If I got it wrong, I did kind of suffer some sort of. It's like a suffering beam. It's like they just hit you with a suffering beam. And you suffer, and they can make you. This is the weirdest thing, and this is probably the scariest thing. They can make you suffer something, the pattern of it. So I mean, I've since learned different words for what this is, because I had my own way of explaining it. But let's say someone goes through some sort of suffering, like a car crash or something like that. Whatever their brainwave and emotional pattern was during the suffering, it can be recorded, and then it can be overlapped over the top of your body, so that wherever you are, even though you're not going through it, you do go through it spiritually or emotionally.
You go through the emotion of the trauma.
Of the trauma, yeah. That this is what I've had loads of these done on me. I had the World Trade Center done on me. You know, what it's like to be sitting in the window.
Was this all within this 3 hours, or have you had an experience since then?
No, when I was in the hotel, that's when I had the World Trade Center done on me.
Right.
So basically, you get the same sensations as if you're sitting in the window of a very high up floor, with all the smoke going down your lungs and all the fire and the heat, and then you want to jump, and you don't know if you want to jump or if you want to just stay there because you're going to die either way, and you go through this weird conundrum of what you should do. I had that done on me when I was in the hotel, so I went through a pattern of the experience of dying in the World Trade Center.
Could that be what the person in the next room had, and he decided to jump?
Maybe he decided to jump. Yeah, I honestly don't know, but I didn't jump out of the window. I just sort of waited it out.
My mistake, Jester. I should have been more clearer. The hotel incident, was that a long experience as well, or a shorter one?
Shorter.
But I think a lot happened in it in a short space of time.
Time slows down, so you can have possibly more experiences in a shorter amount of time somehow.
That's strange.
So back to Wormwood Scrubs and the park. Have you picked up any information that you think could be important to us during this exchange?
I've always asked around. I've heard, and I also looked in a magazine and found another prison which had some weird stuff. Basically, people were seeing weird stuff out the windows.
Yeah.
And it's not uncommon in Wormwood Scrubs that because they've got all these they've got these little windows and stuff, and people do see weird stuff out in the field. Sometimes of a night. Some of the inmates.
Yeah, but nobody's going to believe them because they're inmates.
Yeah, true.
No one believes them because they're inmates. That's the problem. But they do see weird stuff in the park.
What's your recollection like of the images and things you saw during the 3 hours? I've
still got a recollection. There's lots of things made of light. So there's like constructs which are made of a bright white glowing energy. And also, when the information goes inside your brain, it's like a glowing light which just beams into your head, and it feels like light beams.
Well, from what I understand,
something like electricity.
Well, I've heard of that before, Jester. From my understanding is with energy healing or witchcraft, it's something you imagine is a white energy coming into
like a white energy going into your brain, going into your head.
Yeah. It's a visualization when you're doing energy healing and that kind of thing to use white energy. So it's interesting that he should be mentioning that now. Anything else? Anything else?
There's more than I've said. There's more than I've said. However,
are you prepared to say it?
Well, there's like sexual stuff.
Oh God.
Oh, crikey.
Okay, well, there's no need to say anything you don't want to say.
I wouldn't want to go into every single detail, but they do run some let's just say they run some dodgy patterns on you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they make you go through sexual stuff, you know, like rape and stuff.
Oh, right. So to see what your response is or something. It sounds very much like it was a test. I mean, the thing where they were asking you questions and then giving you a cheering sound or a bad feeling, that sounds like the kind of thing they do today on apes, you know, to work out how smart they are.
Or an animal.
Or an animal, yeah. Yeah, it sounds very similar.
They did. It was like being in a chest. It's like being a rat in a laboratory, where you get a bit of cheese if you get it right, or you get like an elastic band, like hitting your body.
Yeah.
You know? It was much worse though. It was so much worse than what I've seen happen with rats and stuff. You know what I mean? It was horrible. You know, you get it wrong. You're in the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Get it right, and you get a celebration noise.
Yeah.
So it's not like you get something equally, you know, however bad the bad thing is.
Yeah, the good thing didn't seem great.
The good thing wasn't that great. Yeah.
That's a bit odd.
Well, it's a bit, the good thing was not
a bit lame, yeah.
But it wasn't, this is not a positive experience by any means, by the sound of it.
A lot more stick than carrot, certainly.
You know?
Yeah, it was not a positive experience, no.
No, because we're often told on this program that it's a good... What's the consensus, Mark? Is that it's always benevolent, it's always nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think people think that, yeah. And sometimes some people have reported it having been benevolent, but often with an undercurrent.
I think so. I mean, the very fact that you're taken against your will in any way is it's an invasion of your being, bodily integrity.
Well, I've learned different names for things just from watching YouTube. So I've seen people have had things which I don't relate to. However, I've seen people have this pattern thing where they'll give you the pattern of being in a car crash, even though you're not in a car crash. They'll give you the same emotional, psychological, and neurological feeling and sensations and thoughts as if you're in one. And it's pretty good. How the simulation of the suffering is unbelievably accurate.
Yeah. I assume they're just testing your reaction to that. Then
I think they're just testing the reaction. Yeah. Or using it as a punishment, as well as testing it as a testing your reaction.
Can I ask, if they want to find out what your reaction is to a bad pattern, like a car crash or a disaster, did they also test your reaction to, I don't know, something that might be sad or happy or
Yeah. I had some weird stuff. Weird, and they made me watch like a film of a mouse that was grown up into a human. So it starts out as a mouse in a laboratory, and then it's put on a planet where these are specially designed mice which grow up and eventually become people, but they need a lot of care and attention and a lot of love from people who bring them up, who raise them, because otherwise they don't grow properly. And then at the end of it showed me a fully grown mouse which has grown up into a humanoid, and it was really beautiful and really pretty and really cute, and it made me cry. Watching this weird video. I'm not sure what the purpose of that.
See, I mean, just to what you're saying now is, I mean, you don't know whether they were showing you a species of life or just trying to have an emotional effect on you.
Yeah.
So
it could have been just having an emotional effect on me, or maybe there is such a thing as a mouse which grows up to become a humanoid on another planet that's been genetically engineered to do that.
I don't know if we'll cover any more of that. I'm just wondering what, after the 3 hour, I'm going to call it an ordeal.
It made me cry.
Yeah. This was an ordeal, really, to be fair.
It was an ordeal, yeah. I mean, I still have post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
Weird problems. Sometimes going outside, I get scared.
Oh, yeah.
And this from somebody who as you say yourself, was a martial artist, somebody who's probably not usually scared.
I quit martial arts.
Right.
It made me.
Why was that?
It just made me quit. It was. I just couldn't see the point in doing martial arts because you can't beat.
Yeah, you couldn't defend yourself.
I couldn't do anything. So
it was a psychological. But just so, how did they go away? Did they just disappear? Or did they fly off? Or in what way did you know it was over?
There was a temperature change. Very cold.
Ah.
Very, very cold. I thought I was going to die from hypothermia.
What time of the year was this?
It was sort of Christmas time.
So it would have been cold. So maybe you were being kept warm, and then
while they were doing it,
as they went, you went to the actual temperature, maybe.
But
it felt colder than the actual temperature. It felt the thing is they did a few weird temperature changes on me as during the whole thing, like sometimes high, sometimes low, and then there was one pattern, like a suffering pattern, where I get the equivalent of being out in space or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like however cold that would be, and I screamed and I said, "Why are you doing this to me?" I just kept screaming, "Why are you doing this to me?"
Well,
there was a number of suffering patterns run on me, like weird ones. Some of them related to this planet, some of them related to other planets. Some of them just classic, like a car accident, or it's freezing cold, or it's really hot. All different ones.
Go on, Basil. You got a question? Go on.
Well, I'm just wondering, Jester, so when the ordeal was over, what was your first reaction? Where did you go? What did you do?
I had difficulty walking. I walked out of there and I couldn't, I got home, but I had difficulty walking home because my legs were shaking.
Of course.
And the streets all seemed longer than they normally are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which apparently is I've since met people who've had that happen to them. So you're walking down the street and then it expands and gets really long.
Maybe your perception of time was out of whack.
Exactly. I've even seen a film where it happens.
Yeah.
The man is playing Dance Revolution, which is like a video game where you jump up and down and dance to music with arrows on the screen, and his legs start to go funny. And then they say, "Oh, he's whacking out." He's whacking out. They just have a silly name for what he's experiencing.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what happened to me. Your legs go funny, and you have difficulty walking because it takes ages to get from one part to the next.
If you had been in a situation where time for you had stood still, that means maybe it was being stretched, and possibly as you were coming back down to Earth,
stretched back into place. You mean
like an elastic band? Maybe you were coming back down.
Like, what you've just said there is spot on.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like.
Just a lot of people. I say a lot. We've interviewed a few people who've had somewhat similar experiences, contact or experiences, whatever you want to call them. Some people come back and say they were given a message for humanity and that kind of thing to pass on and spread. Some people, like Simon Parks, don't seem to have any clear-cut message. They
not so far.
Not so far. Yeah. They just have a story which
is similar. Similar.
Actually.
I just have a story. I didn't have a message for the human race. Some people have like a situation where they're a bit like a prophet, and they're getting information which is coming in beams of light and downloads, and then they're translating it into English, and they're often very charismatic and good at explaining things, and they write books, and a bit like David Icke, he's got all of his books and stuff, and he's sort of translating information which he says it sort of hits him like a beam of light. So, I don't know if you've ever seen Phenomenon with John Travolta.
Yes.
There's some people that are like this, like Phenomenon.
Yeah.
So I think I do have messages to give people, but I think they're just messages. I don't really know where they come from. I do often help or intervene in things in a way which helps people. Like I saved someone's life last year. And I don't know how, but I had a feeling that I needed to get on a specific train. And there was someone It was very strange, actually. It was almost interdimensional the way it happened. They were very drunk, and they were choking on vomit, and no one was helping them. And they were wearing a suit. They were very, very, very clean, very well dressed, and they just, it was the last train. And then their knees ended up on the chair, like both knees, and then they started pivoting on the knees as if something was controlling their body. And then they fell head first, and they were about to land on their face when I grabbed their chest with my arm and stopped them from hitting the floor.
Yeah,
because it was like a judo throw. Like it was as if they'd been judo thrown off the chair, head first into the thing whilst choking on vomit. So I put him on his side, called an ambulance, and waited for the ambulance to come. And I made sure that he wasn't choking. I kept moving his body around into different postures to stop him from choking. He was barely conscious. His eyes were opening and closing and going white. The whites of the eyes and eyes rolling up in the back of his head, sort of thing.
Was he drunk or something like that?
He's very, very seriously drunk, like really extremely drunk.
Did you seek any medical attention immediately after the experience?
Yeah, I went to the hospital. I went to the GP. I got my bloods tested, and obviously my blood tests come back strange.
Yeah,
I don't have any diseases, but I have weird blood tests. They come back strange. They indicate someone with different sized organs and stuff.
Yeah.
What comes back on the tests doesn't correlate with the shape and size of my organs.
Okay. Well, hospitals and doctors are always the last to pick up on anything in these cases anyway, so we don't put too much emphasis on that.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
How did your life change immediately after it? How did you feel? I mean, were you
what's happened since?
Were you very frightened for weeks?
Terribly frightened. No, I'm still frightened now. I still have weird stuff happen to me sometimes. It's still going on. Yeah, it still happens. Yeah.
It's obviously it's not to the same extent, but maybe you're seeing things, are you, or?
No, I'm not seeing things. However, a few months ago, I had the weird test done on me again. So I was in my flat. And it's hard for me to work as well. I do work. However, sometimes I take sick leave, because of what goes on. But my employers know, they're very sympathetic, and they are interested in UFOs, so they know about my situation. And I had the weird test run on me. So I was in my flat. I was sitting at my computer, and then I went through about 3 hours of testing again, and with the party sounds, like the celebration noises, if I got the answer right, the suffering thing, that was a few months ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because you had the one in Wormwood Scrubs some years ago now, wasn't it?
That was years ago, yeah. But I had it again. I had it happen again a few months ago.
Oh right.
But it wasn't the same exact thing.
Is that the only instance you've had since Wormwood?
Yeah.
All right. So you've had it too.
Hey, how did you feel about it then? This most recent one.
This one wasn't as bad.
Is it because have they acclimatized you now?
I think there were people outside my flat. It was. I think in Wormwood Scrubs, I think it was so bad because it was secluded. It was a secluded area. I think because I was in my flat, they couldn't quite do. I don't think they could. do as much,
maybe you might make noise.
I'm in an urban area. Well, yeah, I'm in an urbanly, a densely populated area. I don't think they can. I've noticed if something weird's happening to me and I go in a shopping mall, like if I'm on a quiet street, perhaps something can happen to me. But if I go into a shopping mall surrounded by people, it's difficult, for them to do anything. They do seem to care about witnesses and stuff.
They care about that much.
Yeah. Yeah. They care about whether or not there's witness. I had a witness. I was walking in the street with someone, and some people came out of nowhere with mobile phones and started recording us.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I did something. I made a frequency sound like with my voice. I vibrated my voice in a way that I'm not sure how I did it. I just did it as a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, "Oh, are you doing one of those chants?" I said like what people do in some cults and stuff. I said, yeah. And he said, well, I know one. And he started doing it. And then he gave me instructions. And basically he was going, ah, ooh, ah, ooh. And he said to me to copy exactly what he's doing and try to match his tone as accurately as possible, which I did. And then the people started disappearing.
So this was,
and then it ended up empty. This was in Liverpool Street.
Yeah, I know it. This was as a protection for you.
This was just as a chant to get rid of the people. And he said that he learned to in Dorset because he went down to Dorset to spend time with spiritual people, and they said that they get randomly attacked by spirits. And they've got defense techniques.
It's probably one of the things you could looking at a witch or energy healing or something like that.
Yeah, they'd have self-defense, psychic self-defense.
That's what you're going to need because it's not physical anymore. It's on the psychic realm.
Exactly. Well, he taught me the chant. He did the chant. People started disappearing. And then it was empty, and the weather changed. It was completely warm and normal, and then it suddenly went cold.
Yeah, but it seems for sure they haven't finished with you altogether. That's the
no, they haven't finished with me. There's no way that they finished with me.
I mean,
unfortunately for me, I suffer with this.
Well, people. I mean, our friend Simon Parks. It's been a lifetime's experience that he
still going on. I believe
he shrugs it off, but to us it sounds horrific.
Yeah, a lot of it.
It's literally like something.
Yeah, it's horrific. No, it's horrific. I don't.
The only difference between you and him is that they don't, as far as we're aware, they haven't done any physical harm to him. I'm not saying they've done physical harm to you, but they've given you the emotion that perhaps you're on fire or you have to jump out of a window.
They've done. I've seen other people who've had this done on them.
Yeah.
On YouTube, I've seen abductees talking about this. I mean, my names for it have changed because originally I used to call it a simulation. I used to say they simulate you if you'd been in the World Trade Center or in a car crash or if you'd fallen off of a cliff.
Yeah.
I used to use the word simulation or simulate. However, since watching YouTube, some of my vocabulary has changed because some of it's easier. I now say they run the pattern on you because it's a brainwave pattern and an emotional pattern.
Yeah.
So I say they run the pattern on you rather than they simulate. Because it takes me a long time to explain it that way. So now I just say they run the pattern on you.
What advice do you have to anybody listening to this who's had an experience that they're keeping to themselves?
Don't do any drugs.
Yeah.
Because that will make you extremely vulnerable.
Yes.
I've spoken to people who do drugs. Most of them just have drug-induced experiences. However, some of them have weird alien stuff happening to them.
Yes.
And they correlate it directly with being vulnerable neurologically because they've done drugs.
That's right.
So don't do any drugs, and also avoid stimulants like caffeine, coffee, stuff like that. Because it can put your brain on a higher frequency. Like if you drink energy drinks like Red Bull and stuff like that, your brain can go to a higher frequency, and then I don't think anything physical would happen to you, but you could touch upon a psychic realm of a higher vibration if you're sensitive and your brain is already on a higher vibration. If you drink a load of caffeine, you could go even higher.
Okay.
And I mean that's just caffeine. This is like kid stuff. Like caffeine is not a big deal. However, something like cocaine would do it even more.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Correct.
So you got to be extremely careful. I've met people who have done different drugs and they've had some horrible experiences as well.
Yes.
Not all of them, just a select few.
Not all. Yes. I understand. From what I understand, you're entering into a lower vibrational field on the drugs and things like that, and you're sort of attracting negative entities, be they alien,
spirits and stuff. And it could be aliens. It could be interdimensional beings, which we call spirits. And if you're doing drugs and putting your brain on a different frequency, you could take in information, receive information from a higher frequency, and it could mess you up.
Jester, do you feel you're affording yourself any sense of protection by talking to us today? Do you think by having it out in the open and maybe broadcasting it a bit, they might leave you alone?
I don't think you've done any other interviews, have you, Jester? Is this the first one?
This is my first interview.
Yeah.
And we have to assume that we'll make the assumption that they don't want to be talked about. So is it, were you thinking of maybe...
I don't know if they want me to I'm losing you now.
Oh, it's okay. We'll come back in. It's just a little hiccup there. It'll pick up again.
Jester, can you hear us okay still?
I can hear you now. I
Yeah,
can hear you now.
just
That's weird.
have you, while we're on the subject, have you had any problems with your telecommunications? Because everybody who talks about UFOs or aliens that we have on the show, including us, when we talk about them,
I hadn't thought of it yet.
have phone problems, Skype problems.
You might have noticed that as you were asking me just then, if I think they will be okay with me telling you about this broadcasting it, you might notice that you cut out.
Yeah, but we did. We all just went dead there at that particular moment.
On that particular question.
It is very strange.
Yeah, we call them the overlords, me and my friend. Because I've got a friend who I've shared my experiences with, and he's shared his experiences with me. He's had an abduction when he was a child.
Okay, good.
And he calls them the overlords, and he says that they can make coincidences happen, and they can make synchronous events happen. They can synchronize events, and they can use it to communicate with us. And if they try to talk to us on our level, they have to burn a lot of energy because they're on a different frequency. So what they do is they work with weird coincidences, interfering with things at key moments to send messages. So they interfered on that moment. So their message was related to whether or not they want me to be open with this and broadcast this.
Yeah.
You know.
No,
but you need to really take into consideration coincidences and notice when they happen, because that's where a lot of your messages come from.
We've had this with so many guests, and the hacking attempts on the website all started not long after Mac Maloney's interview.
Mac Maloney's interview was deleted from the site.
Yeah, we had our website hacked, and they deleted one interview, and that was Mac Maloney talk about UFOs in wartime, of all obscure things.
And hugely well witnessed UFOs as well, by military and the newspapers, so
why would they delete that?
I don't know. So it's a common thing. But you've got a friend who's also an abductee. But is there a network of support? Have you found people?
I've got a small network of support. However, I haven't worked hard enough at building that network of support. I need to go to meetings, join the forums.
You need to go to a MASH, I think. If you can.
MASH is probably a good place to start. They seem to be
they're literally
the go-to place.
They're a support group as much as anything else.
Yeah,
they don't just want a story from you. I mean, they've got.
They have regular meetings and all sorts of things. There's one in Nottingham,
to some extent, counselling.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah,
they
have a helpline. In fact,
this is what I need, definitely.
I know a lady in Florida who actually offers counselling to abductees via Skype.
Yeah, but they can't get to. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
How much does she charge? Any money? Or
I actually don't know. I'm not sure if she does. I'll put you in contact with her, and we shall find out.
Because we talk on the emails, so you could let me know these different.
And interestingly, people would listen to your story and they'd think first people's impressions would be, this guy's bonkers.
Of course, a bit like David Icke.
Yeah, but the lady who I'm talking about, who offers counselling to contactees, is a qualified psychiatric nurse.
Yeah,
I imagine she does it under a different name, but still,
you'd probably disagree with me on this, Mark, because I know what you're like. But I would suggest to go and see about some energy healing, or maybe a taroist.
No, I've already done that. I have gone and had energy healing done on me, and it makes a big difference. There's a Russian one called Skenar.
Yeah.
It's like they use a device which goes over meridian points with a mild static electric current, and I've also had Reiki. I know these things make a big difference.
They do. Hey, well, listen.
I use magnets as well. I used the biomagnetic healing devices.
Have you in your ordinary life have you told many people, and what's the reaction like? Are they saying
I don't tell everyone?
No,
I don't tell everyone. I've told my father. I haven't told my mother.
No,
I've told my close friend, who's had experiences as well. He's the one that calls them overlords and says you have to be very careful of coincidences and anything that's a synchronized series of things which seem to have meaningful coincidences built into them on purpose. So I speak to him a lot. I just got two emails from him just before I logged on to Skype, and he's talking about this stuff.
What did your dad say? How did he feel about it? Or
my dad reads a lot of science fiction, and he has had his own. He's had experiences as well. However, he's not had the same degree of experience as I've had. However, he has noticed weird coincidences, and he's very good at reading body language. And he says that the mainstream media is covering something up. He says he doesn't know what it is. He's also very careful what he says, because he believes everything we say gets listened to, even though there might not be a microphone there. He says that the things that we say seem to get recorded and used. So I think that the things we say
recorded by whom now? By
higher beings.
Oh yes, okay. I'm just I'm wondering about MI5M or MI6 or.
No, he doesn't actually mean them.
Yeah.
He means just energetically recorded.
Yes.
by what we could think of as spirits.
Wow.
Well, that's one of my beliefs. I'm a great believer in energy and psychic ability and things like that. I know what you're like, Mark.
Well, you are these days.
Jester, thanks very much. What does the future hold for you now, do you think?
Well, I've got a YouTube channel, and I'm talking about hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, David Icke's theories, the Illuminati, UFOs.
Do you want to give your YouTube channel out?
Yeah, I'm happy to give it out.
Yeah.
It's called Mainstream Ideas.
Okay.
So you just have to go to www.youtube.com/mainstream ideas, and you'll get my channel. I've got 21 videos on there so far.
Right. Excellent.
What do you think of David Icke and the reptilian agenda? Jester?
Well, I think David Icke has some brilliant ideas, and he doesn't just talk about reptilians. You notice that he talks about these things called archons, Islamic jinns, which are like spirits. Yeah, exactly, like demons and stuff.
That's right.
He doesn't only talk about the reptilians. However, you've got to remember that our brain has a reptile brain, because our brains are comprised mostly of three sections, and right in the middle, I think that there's the reptilian brain. So we have some of it in us, and some people might have a more pronounced connectivity with their reptilian brain due to breeding, which might be on purpose, for the sake of rituals and stuff. And I also talk about word choices. They won't call it a ritual; they'll call it a ceremony, because calling something a ceremony makes it sound nice. Calling it a ritual makes it sound bad.
Interesting.
Jester, we appreciate it so much, and I wish you well. I'll be thinking about you.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
I'll be thinking positive thoughts towards you.
We'll link to your YouTube channel.
As well.
Okay.
We'll link to your YouTube channel wherever people find this video. So hopefully they should come and have a look.
Would it be feasible for people who've had an experience to contact you on the channel? Would that be okay with you?
Yes, they can leave a message on the channel.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to them.
Yeah.
I think I accept messages as well. I think I have an inbox. Some people don't accept.
On YouTube.
Yeah, it's very hard to find these days, but it's still there.
It's very hard to find, so maybe Facebook might be a better place to.
Yeah, you on Facebook at all?
Yeah, I can be on. I could make a Facebook.
I think you should.
We have a group, the Alternative Future Radio group, and a lot of the people who we've interviewed are actually members of that group. So it might be a place you might want to stop by. But if we get
what's it called?
Alternative Future Radio
group of Facebook.
Yeah, if you type in Alternative Future Radio, it should pop up straight away.
What I'll do is I'll go on there with my normal account.
Yes.
Because I use my normal first name on my YouTube account. However, I don't mention my surname. However, I don't mind people if they find out my surname. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, we've Alternative Future Radio. We've found out through bitter experience that if people use their real names, it becomes a bit of a problem when they come to look for work, because people Google them and then they find these videos. And
I've had that happen to me.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that. So you're fairly wise to avoid doing that, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it the group or the like page?
The group.
The group, not the like page.
Okay, I've
you can like us as well if you like. We've got both. We're good either way.
I'm on there now.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well, I'm going to focus all my good thoughts and energy on you, Jester.
Thank you very much.
And I'm going to wish you all the very, very best. And thank you so much for being so brave.
Thanks for coming on.
So good for coming on.
Brilliant.
Same to you, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Jester. I'll talk to you again.
Anytime.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was Jester, Black, Onyx.
That was horrible.
Horrible?
It was a horrible
His
story.
experience was horrible?
It wasn't nice.
It was pretty disturbing, wasn't it?
We're always told that it's lovely.
Yeah, you have a hug session and you're bestowed the answer to humanity's problems and you're back home in time for tea.
I've always had me doubts about that, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, his experience was pretty rough.
There was stuff so bad there that he wasn't even willing to talk about it.
Yeah, lots of stick and no carrot.
Yeah, what does that mean? Lots of
carrot
stick?
and the stick.
What?
Have you not heard the carrot and the stick analogy?
But it just sounds like it's like when you and me say we keep chickens.
Yeah.
Just pretend.
We do. And I'm not pretending.
It's not. We're just as an example.
Yeah.
And you go in, you pick up the chicken.
Yeah.
And you do stuff to it. Maybe God knows. God knows what you're doing to it, though.
What the hell are you doing to your chicken?
No, I'm not doing it. But I'm just saying the animal doesn't know what's being done to it.
No, its world just moved. The floor just lowered.
Yeah, and it's like that with these some of these abductions. It's just it's horrible.
Yeah, it doesn't sound pleasant.
It doesn't.
Doesn't sound like something I want.
I wish.
What is it, and do I want it? No.
Yeah. Do you want with my permission?
No,
not without my permission. Thanks very much.
Don't fancy it much.
So that's why I'm a bit dubious about the whole alien thing. There's not a lot of consent forms and.
No. There's no permissions given or anything like that, is there?
I do wish Jester all the best.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
I hope nothing else happens.
You heard Jester himself joining our Alternative Future Radio Facebook group as he spoke. We recommend highly that everybody listening does that as well.
You can contact Jester there if you've had an experience, or on his YouTube channel if you can find it. It's very hard to leave a message on YouTube at the moment.
It's a bit of a pain, It's the U has been phased out of YouTube,
so
it seems.
To anybody listening, if you've had some frightening experience like that, get in contact with Jester there and sort of form a little group among yourselves. And,
why not?
Okay.
I'm sure he'll be joining the Amash group as well. We'll have another interview with Miles coming up soon. I'm sure we'll be talking to him.
That's true. Simon? Oh, Miles.
Miles, yes. So Miles will be all over him like a rash as soon as he finds him.
Thank you ever so much for listening to the Out There Hour on Alternative Future Radio.
See you all next time.
You're listening to Alternative Future Radio, home of the weird, resting place of the paranormal. We'll take you to the furthest reaches of the galaxy and beyond. Strange phenomena, aliens, psychics, cryptozoology, conspiracy, holistic health, and UFOs. Alternative Future Radio, where spooky just got weird. You're listening to Alternative Future Radio, home of the weird, resting place of the paranormal. We'll take you to the furthest reaches of the galaxy and beyond. Strange phenomena, aliens, psychics, cryptozoology, conspiracy, holistic health, and UFOs. Alternative Future Radio, where spooky just got weird.
Greetings and salutations to one and all. Welcome to the Out There Hour.
The Out There Hour on Alternative Future Radio. The Out There Hour with Basil and Mark. www.alternativefutureradio.com.
Yay!
People love the yays, don't they?
We go for yay. And to think, right, a couple of months ago, you wanted to drop the yay.
I did. And it's become the most popular part of the show.
Yeah, everybody tunes out about now. See you, everybody.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
And welcome to the Middle East.
Africa.
Mexico City.
Europe.
Trinidad and Tobago. Oh, we did them last week.
America.
God, where's my original bone?
At least one listener in Australia.
Yeah, there's one. Persistent listener in Australia.
And if any of you have been abducted.
Yeah.
Or contacted.
I've been contacted.
Or by an extraterrestrial.
Oh.
Today is the show for you.
Yes, Mr. Jester Black Onyx. It's a pseudonym.
Because he doesn't want to use his real name.
Yeah, he's got enough sense to not do it, because it brings upon him nothing but problems, I'd say.
He just can't, and he hasn't spoken to too many people about this.
Yeah.
He's told, I think perhaps his father at most, and maybe a friend.
Yeah.
He wants to stay in employment regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, Colleen Thomas had lots of trouble finding work because Google her name and she's everywhere.
Ben the Porter.
Yeah, no longer required.
And the list goes on.
Yeah, quite a few people.
So he's very bravely agreed to come on today to talk about his very bizarre, somewhat unpleasant...
Formed on my wrist and my hand.
Was that at the same time, or was that a different occasion?
No, same night. No,
right.
I had a bunch of stuff happen as I was on the grass. And then I saw a UFO with a triangle-shaped UFO above in the sky, sort of hovering. And I stayed there looking at it for half an hour, and I had this weird thing in my hand, like it felt like it was made of electronics and metal, and it was in my wrist, and I had scars for years, and they can still be seen a little bit, but they were really obvious, the scars, but they've healed because I heal quite well from things like that.
How long ago was this then?
Well, I'm 26 now, so it's 4 years ago.
22.
Right.
So just chronologically, you were going through the Wormwood Scrubs Park, I know it quite well. Something hit you in the back of the head.
Yeah. And I did actually see it. Not when it hit me, but about 5 minutes after it hit me, it sort of shouted at me from a direction, and I just felt, from its energy, the aggression, that it must be the same thing which hit me.
Yeah.
It was like a very ugly sort of being. The face, the facial characteristics were humanoid, but they were distorted. They were in like a slightly different shape, like the nose, the eyes, not very tall either. And was trying to communicate with me, but was being very aggressive with me, and was angry towards me for some reason.
Oh, that's unusual.
Did you run away?
I wanted to, but I was actually there was an occasion where two more of them stared at me, and I couldn't move. I froze. I had so much fear that I couldn't move. I did leave after about 3 hours, but I froze when two of them started staring at me. They were taller as well than the one that I think punched me.
But how did they keep you there for 3 hours?
I was just terrified.
Still rooted to the spot.
I was talking to them as well, and they seemed to understand what I was saying.
I must say.
Yeah. It sounds pretty rough, to be honest.
Yeah, not very nice.
Not something that you'd want.
Right in the heart of London.
Yeah.
Just in Wormwood, just outside of Wormwood Scrubs, the prison.
Yeah.
Out on the park.
Wormwood Scrubs is like a you could call it a park, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's a park.
Yeah.
Beside this big open green area.
Yeah.
Just outside the prison for the prisoners to look at.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I guess there's not much more to say.
No,
only really get on with it.
Bring him on and see what he's got to say for himself.
We can't give any more history. We can't tell you what he does or things like that, because it would just give the game away.
It would.
So we'll just talk about what happened to him.
Yes, let's do it. And let's bring forth the advert.
Are you ready for an adventure? Prepare yourself for more alternative future radio than any human being should have access to. How do you get this? It's simple. With the new Alternative Future Radio Android application, you can download all the latest shows and the archived shows as well. Help support Alternative Future Radio for just $1.99. PayPal will bill you in your very own currency if you don't use dollars. Find out more at alternativefutureradio.com.
Okay, so we are now going live over to London to talk to a chap we'll refer to as Jester Black Onyx. Interesting name. Hello, Jester.
Hi. Nice to finally talk to you.
Nice to get hold of you finally. We've been off and on about getting this interview going for the last couple of months, but we're finally there. Basil's in the studio. Say hello, Basil.
Hello, Jester. You're very good to come on. We appreciate it a great deal.
I'm happy to be on.
Yeah, because we know that a lot of people would They don't want the attention. They'd rather not be doing this kind of thing if at all possible. So we appreciate that it takes a certain amount of courage.
I was like that in the beginning. A number of months ago, I was scared to talk about what I've experienced.
Well, we've just had a conversation between myself and Mark, and I said, frankly, if I had ever seen a UFO, an alien, anything at all, I wouldn't mention it. I wouldn't bother. I just couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to defend myself.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that, and most people don't talk about this. However, it's becoming more common now. I mean, people are talking about their experiences more openly now, especially on YouTube and everything. So I think people are feeling more able to talk about it.
And to us, apparently, we're becoming one of the.
We seem to be the go-to show for contactees. We've done quite a few, haven't we?
We've done a lot. Ashwin Farinacci and Simon Parks,
Colleen
Thomas.
We've got a few,
and a few contact me privately who simply don't.
Yeah,
want
we've
to
had a
talk
few.
about
Yeah. But we had Miles Johnson on last week, who runs the Amash group, which you might be aware of, AMMACH for contactees.
It's a support group for contactees or abductees.
I've joined a couple of support groups. However, I need to get more in there, get on the message boards, and write up some more of my experiences.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jester, we don't know a lot about you.
Yeah, where do we start? Do you want to just talk?
Well, I was a martial artist, and I was teaching martial arts. I had a club. And basically I had an experience, and this was a few years ago. I'm 26 now, and I was 22 at the time.
Yeah.
And basically I was walking in Wormwood Scrubs, which is like a park next to a prison, and I was standing. It was quite dark, and it was around 11 p.m. And I was just looking at the back of the prison, just wondering, what would it be like to to be in there, sort of thing. And then I basically got punched in the back of the head, and there was no one there. So I thought, is it an interdimensional being? I didn't have the name interdimensional being in my memory bank because I hadn't looked up this sort of thing. But I didn't think it was a ghost. I thought it must just be something that can travel between dimensions. So that was the first thing that happened. Then I had a weird surgery performed, and I was being a bit threatening towards them because I was a martial artist, and I was considering fighting, but I didn't because I was just too scared. Because if it's paranormal, it's scary and it can make you freeze up.
You don't know whether it's paranormal, demonic, ghostly, or alien. I mean, how do you decide?
Yeah, something just not right.
I think interdimensional.
Yeah.
Because of the punch coming, through the air, sort of thing, and without the being there as I got hit, and then because of the UFO above me, which was very vivid, it was like a triangle shape with lights in a triangle formation, very large and hovering, and it didn't have a helicopter sound, it didn't have the rotor blade sound, and it was hovering in a way an airplane can't do.
But you were still on the ground while you were seeing this. You were still in the location that you were walking.
I was still in the same location.
It's
a very scary place in the night, actually.
It is.
I didn't realize because I was wandering.
It is.
Yeah, it's a scary place, with weird energy and stuff.
Well, people don't understand this about London, but there are parts of it that you will never see anybody in built-up areas, parks and things like that. Wormwood Scrubs would be a number one, not a nice area.
Yeah, Wimbledon Common, there's a few places like that.
You're correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, so you've got three beings.
Yeah.
Holding me, holding
me hostage, sort of thing.
Yeah,
the two of them had some sort of weaponized energy in their stare, because they were staring at me, and they had some sort of power over me. I think, and they didn't look like they didn't understand what I was experiencing. They looked as if they knew how I felt,
Yeah.
So they were staring at me, making me so terrified I couldn't move. I also thought I might die from shock because my chest,
Yes.
I had a sensation in my chest as if I might just die from the fear.
Yeah, probably I do that more immediately than Jester would. But where they now it's hard to describe their faces insofar as they were, I guess, morphing, or things weren't quite where they should have